Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LaTroy Gardner. This week, we have the first daughter coach. She's also the founder of Healed Hero. We got Adaku Mbagwu. Did I get it right?
You
Was I
did.
close? How close?
Pretty close. Yeah, I'll say about 95%.
Okay, good, good. How you doing, Adaku?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. Looking forward to the holidays. Um, all right, so just give us a little background information on the life and times of Adaku, and how we got to this point.
Oh wow, it's a broad question. It's like where to start. I'm Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I moved to the UK when I was 6 years old, which is where the accent comes from. Um, Went from having a really kind of abundant, highly privileged background to being poor in the UK, which I don't think anyone would have expected. So UK was tough. um, my mum and dad got divorced while we were there. She remarried, and her second husband became schizophrenic. And in that process, I kind of took on the role as the mom of the house while she kind of cared for him and his needs, and that shaped me a lot. Yeah, we tried to move to Houston when I was 14 because a lot of her family are out in Houston. There's a lot of Nigerians in Houston, and it wasn't easy for us to get out there. So after 2 years of kind of going to high school, going back to the UK, that disrupted our education a little bit. She kind of gave up, and we stayed in the UK. And yeah, I ended up uh, graduating, university, working, starting my own business. Whole bunch of stuff happened. I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into, and ended up in Mexico. Now I live in Mexico. So
We can stop there for now. I mean, because yeah, you definitely, that was a lot as far as just your childhood. Seems like having to grow up way before you would have liked. Like just yeah, just dig deeper into, I guess, that transition in status from, like you said, being the daughter of a multi-millionaire to being Poe. Like just the richest to rags story. Like how did it feel, dealing with that?
I was 6 years old. I'm not sure I can kind of connect completely to how I feel, but of how it felt. But I remember in Nigeria being surrounded by family and having drivers and cooks and nannies, and there was just a lot of people around us, and a lot of wealth that I didn't realize that I didn't maybe identify it with wealth. To be in the UK with my mum on her own, and everything just seemed hard and like a struggle. So we would run out of food. We'd go days without eating any food, and yeah, she didn't have any support. So I knew that she was a supply teacher. So when she was working, there was work. When she wasn't, there wasn't any money, and she would supplement it on credit cards. So we early childhood memories are like babies kicking down the door, trying to take furniture. We had an apartment, but it was like a shell of a house because we had no furniture, no toys. We'd go without electricity, no gas, and in London it's cold, so we'd have to wear outdoor jackets inside. We'd do our homework around the candlelight. Me and my brother had to walk to school, sometimes with holes in our shoes. So I remember kind of being in class with like wet socks and just feeling uncomfortable. So yeah, so it was just this kind of, everything was happy. We had a lot of people around us to, like, we're on our own and we're struggling and things are really hard. And yeah, that was an interesting kind of shift.
Uh-huh. So I'm married to a first generation Nigerian American, and last year around this time I visited Ibadan for the first time for a few weeks. Um, just the experience and the stories, told by my in-laws as far as being I guess the chosen one in the family, the one that moved to America to work and make money and supply for the rest of the family. Um, did you have any of those type of experiences as well, being like the first child? Like my wife, she's the primary breadwinner now, and there's always pressure on her to, keep everyone afloat. So did you experience that?
Not necessarily for the wider family in Nigeria because I was a kid when I moved over, but I know a lot of family members who send their children at like 16 or 17 to go to university and they become the caretaker of everyone at home. But I was always told in the family, oh, you're the first daughter, you have to take care of your mum, you have to take care of. So the pressure was to look after my family. So I've been working since I was 8 years old. I was braiding hair and babysitting and would get £5 or £10 here and there and would pay the bills. And that kind of continued most of my life. Like you said, I didn't really have a childhood. So, and especially when my mom remarried and he became schizophrenic, the responsibilities kind of went up. I kind of felt like I had to parent my siblings because my mom didn't have the capacity to. So, yeah, the pressure to send money back wasn't there until I was 25 and went back home and reconnected with my dad. He had lost all of his wealth, and so then he became a dependent, and so yeah, things kind of shifted that way later on. But I rebelled against a lot of it because it gets too much. It's like I'm already taking care of my family here, and now you guys that haven't been in my life, I'm supposed to be responsible for all of you. It's like no.
Uh, does that like keep you from going home as much as you would like, or?
It doesn't keep me from going home, but I think it keeps me from staying in touch with when I'm not at home
Hmm.
because, yeah, it's just lots of asks and struggle stories. And granted, everyone is going through some stuff, but I think that they have like a fairy tale version of what life is in the West. They just think that you just hop on the plane and all of a sudden you've like arrived in the land of riches and there's just unlimited wealth that is flowing from trees and you can just pluck it and send it back home. So I don't think that they kind of empathize with any form of struggle. So, and there's no point in trying to explain it to them. And you saying no just feels like you're being mean. So I kind of try to not stay in touch. But when I'm there, I'll help as much as I can. I bring stuff home and I leave it as that.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much what I learned from my experience. Like half of the clothes that I brought ended up staying there,
Hmm.
giving to family members, and you know, one of one of the cousins that's going to school. Um, his mom asked us for money to pay for him to go to school, so we helped out as much as we could. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it was definitely an experience for me, just like experiencing the Western lifestyle my entire life, and then going over there and just seeing how different it is, contrasting to how it is here, was
Hmm.
eye opening and humbling all at the same time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So all right, so we kind of covered you know childhood and young adulthood. Just talk about how um like adulthood um you navigated those spaces as far as just finding yourself, finding your peace and joy.
Oh, it depends on. I didn't have peace and joy for a lot of my adulthood. I think I carried across this kind of burden of having to be everything for everyone. So my teens, I went to university and I was working for a 40-hour a week job while trying to study, sending home money. So it was always just a constant stress. I didn't do the whole college, having fun, thing that a lot of people do. It was responsibilities, 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 and then I graduated, and I was with I was with my fiance at the time, who I had known since I was 14, and we were engaged to get married, and I had the pressure of coming up with the money for our wedding, as well as taking care of my mum's bills and making sure my siblings were okay. And so I went into recruitment straight out of university, and it was a commission-based job. I did pretty well. Within a year, I was bringing in £1 million a year for the company, and it put me at six figures in my early 20s. But yeah, I got nicknamed the robot because I'd get into work before everyone, I'd leave after everyone left, and I just kept pushing and kept feeling like I had to do more, to the point where it led me to a breakdown. So I fell into depression around 24, 25. And the first time round, it was actually the CEO of a company I worked with that diagnosed me as depressed. He would notice that I would come in to work and I'd just start crying for no reason. I'd run to the bathroom, try to fix myself up, go back to work. And he pulled me to the side and he said, "I think you're depressed." And I was like, "I'm not weak." And he was like, "What do you mean? Depression's got nothing to do with weakness." And he tried to explain that it's like a broken leg, it needs time to heal. He gave me a couple months off. And that was the first time I took stock, and I'm like, okay, what has led me here? And I was like, I've got a lot of pressure. So the thing I need to do is cut off my family. So I stopped speaking to my mom, I stopped speaking to my siblings. I'm like, all you guys do is take. And it's led me to breaking down, and I don't think you care, and you guys will take until I die. So I thought that was the solution, and it worked, but it wasn't a sustainable, permanent solution. So I didn't speak to them for about 4 months and started to feel better and came out of depression and went back to work. But then I re-engaged with everyone and re-engaged with work, and then a year later fell back into depression. And that's when I tried to attempt suicide twice, failed. Thankfully, I'm here.
Thankfully.
And I was introduced to a coach, and that's when my life started to turn around. So one thing I'm grateful to my mum for is that she introduced me to meditation when I was 8 years old. So as a family, we used to meditate all the time. And even though we had this spiritual practice and awareness, I wasn't aware of how much my mind and my belief systems were kind of limiting me and creating all of these stories of things that I had to do and ways that I had to be in order to be a good person. And working with a coach helped me unravel all of those things, because he would say, "Why do you think you're depressed?" And I was like, "Because I have to do this for my family and I have to do that and they don't appreciate it." And he kept saying, "Who said you had to?" I was like, "What do you mean, who said I had to? If I don't, who else is going to do it?" And we just had this like fight. And he kept saying, "Who said you had to?" And eventually I was like, "Who did say I had to?" It's like, oh, no one actually said I had to. Like, if I didn't, like, what would have been the repercussions? And I started realizing that even though I might have been 8 years old, where I felt like I needed to help, I made the decision to, so I can make the decision not to. And it was that kind of start of the unwinding of my mind that allowed me to, realize that I created all of these belief systems that were kind of locking me into a mental prison, that was having me show up in ways in my life that were not serving me and leading me into depression. So I started to unwind them and learn how to say no and learn how to put boundaries in place and figure out, like, what do I even need to be okay so that I can show up fully for everyone else. And that's when things started to change and I started moving more towards peace. Like that was a journey of I needed to break down before I was able to get to the other side of that.
Right. I guess, like, with, the fact that you kind of saw yourself as a robot, and you had to separate from your family for a period once you started realizing that you were depressed, and a lot of the behavior wasn't healthy for you long term. Like, like, did your did your family members apologize, or is it just something that you felt I have to be this way? I have to like go nonstop, 100% all the time in order to get things done, almost like it was ingrained in you and there was no other option on the table.
I think it felt that way when I was doing it. Did my family apologize? So when I wanted the apology, no, because I think
Uh-huh.
I was just the place I was coming from was anger. So I was like, "You guys," and they were being defensive, which humans do. They get blamed, they're defensive. So not initially, but once I started doing the work and realizing that I had responsibility to play in the dynamic and started sharing that I had responsibility to my family members. I remember having a conversation with my mum where I said to her that I know I've been blaming you, and you know what, is as much as I would have liked a childhood, I'm grateful for the person I've become because I wouldn't have become that person had it not been for the role I played. She then, I guess, felt safe to apologize because I wasn't blaming her and shouting at her. And she ended up saying to me that she apologizes for not mothering me or nurturing me. She saw me as like her husband, her helpmate, and she was scared that if she mothered me, that I would stop helping her, and that's why she didn't mother me. So that was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like growing up as this child thinking my mom doesn't love me and she loves my, because I'm one of seven, I could see her nurturing my siblings, but she wasn't nurturing me. So as a child, I'm making it mean that I'm not lovable. So then I created, oh, maybe if I do more, she'll love me. But then it was worse because she was like, okay, keep doing, and I need to not show you that I'm nurturing you. So it became this vicious circle of me as a child trying to gain love from my mom and her withholding it to like keep getting the payoffs of me trying to gain it, you know.
Yeah.
So the apologies came once I was at peace in myself and I didn't need them. Then they were able to say, you know what, you did do a lot, and we are
Uh,
grateful, which was nice. Yeah.
okay. So like how does the relationship function today?
Well, mum's passed, but a year or two before she passed, I felt like I finally had my mum back. So we spent some time together. I took her on vacations, and then in 2017 she passed away. Relationships with my siblings are way better than they have been. It's a little bit of a strange dynamic because I was so active in their lives as a parental figure, even though I was a child, a lot of their childhood traumas I directed towards me. And I'm like, you realize I was 8 years old, 9 years old when I was like raising you. I apologize for the mistakes I made. So we've had to work through a lot, but we communicate as a family. We're pretty close knit. So we've kind of done the hard work to cry and shout and get all of the things out on the table and move through them. And yeah, I'm pleased to say we're in a good place today.
That's good. That's good.
Dr. Todd McLean provides periodontal and dental implant services in 2 convenient locations. They offer over a decade of experience treating patients, and appointments can even be scheduled in the evenings, weekends, or early mornings. Give them a call in Chapel Hill at 919-537-9774 or in Durham at 919-484-8338, or visit them online at gumsandimplants.org.
Um, like tell us about Healed Hero, like the light bulb moment. It's like, you know what? Um, everything that I dealt with, everything that I've overcome, I want to help others that's in a similar boat.
Yeah, it wasn't as kind of automatic as that. It was kind of a transition. So I ended up starting my own recruitment business when I was 25, and I grew it to about 2.4 million in turnover in 4 years, and completely lost passion, interest in it. And I would wake up every day and tell my team, like, do what you want, I'm not coming in. And that happened for a while, and I ended up going to India as you do, for a month. I left my laptop, left my phone. I didn't want anyone to be able to contact me. And I was like, what is wrong with me? I know I'm not depressed, but I just don't care about the business. And while I was there, I realized my why for trying to make money up until that point was mainly focused on caring for my family. And as my siblings were graduating from university, getting their own jobs, the demand on support was declining. So therefore my why was dying. So it was like, oh, I don't like this business. I'm just doing it to support and help everyone else. So I need to figure out like who I am and what I want to do. So while I was in India, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the UK. I'm going to shut my business down. I don't know what I'm going to do after. Came back, shut the business down, started traveling, went to an event called A-Fest in 2016, which is a Mind Valley event. I don't know if you know of Mind Valley at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and I just met a lot of successful people that were making a difference while making money. And I always used to think, oh, you got to make money first and then you can make a difference. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can learn from these people. I ended up hiring Lisa Nichols as my coach. And I worked with her and she was like, you got to write a book and you've got to coach. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You want me? I've gone most of my life looking after people. Now you want me to get into a profession where I have to look after people? Why would I do that to myself? So I rejected it. And then 2 years into kind of traveling and trying to find my why, a friend of mine asked me to speak at his entrepreneurial event, and I shared my story of how I fell into depression and overcame a suicide attempt, grew my business. And I thought all of the entrepreneurs were going to ask, like, how did you grow your business? But a lot of the questions were, how did you get over the depression? And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I've gone through all of this for a reason. Maybe I'm supposed to help people who are struggling. And so that's when I became open to coaching, started coaching and realizing that I was getting people results very quickly. So there were people who were they were experiencing depression for a while, and then after 3 months of working with me, they weren't depressed anymore. And I was like, maybe this is a fluke. And it kept happening. And I developed a methodology. Then the pandemic happened, moved to Mexico. And while I was in Mexico, continued to kind of develop my work and was like, okay, I think I'm coming up with something that I might be onto something. So I'm just going to hibernate. I'm not interested in like scaling it or growing. And eventually I started realizing, women respond more to my work because the work's very confronting, but it's also very emotionally triggering. And I think men are not really given the opportunity or not encouraged to be emotional. So it just seemed like they were having a hard time working with me. It was just too much. So I was like, okay, let me leave the men's coaches to work with men. Let me lean more into women. And it was only towards the end of 2024 that a client of mine was asking for coaching on the dynamic that she had with her firstborn daughter. And as I was asking her questions, I realized that she was recreating some of the behaviors that she had with her mum, with her child. And I was like, you realize that you're just doing the same thing with your firstborn? And she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. I was like, hold on. And I took a step back and I was like, all of my clients are firstborn daughters, like me. I was like, maybe there's something here. Maybe I don't know, supposed to help break this generational pattern of firstborns that fall into this trap of putting themselves last and not really learning how to be playful and not learning how to receive. And so I decided I am going to lean into this and create a community where firstborn daughters who are entrepreneurs and executives can do the work to heal so that they can achieve more success with a lot more ease and also break this generational pattern of repeating these firstborn limitations. So yeah, that's how it it came to play. And I called it Healed Hero because the firstborn daughters are usually the heroes of their family, and this community is about helping them heal.
So, I mean, you're clearly helping other first daughters, but what are you learning throughout the process? Like, as far as just experiences from your clients, like, how is that allowing you to look into the mirror?
Oh, I'm constantly working on myself, and I share it with the firstborn daughters. They one thing I don't do is be one of those coaches that like I've got it all figured out, and that's like a firstborn daughter trait, having it all figured out. It's a farce. That I help them break that down and embrace their imperfections. But for example, like right now, the thing that has been present with me is that I haven't been good at communicating my feelings in the moment. It's like someone will do something, it will trigger me, and I'll kind of push it down and suppress it and be like, yeah, of course you're going to let me down. And then this kind of validates my mistrust of people. So what I've been doing in each moment that someone triggers me is like taking a moment and in that moment communicating, this hurt me and this is why. And the last 3 times over the last week that I've done that, I've just started bawling, like crying for a minute. That if they don't warrant tears, the things that I'm complaining about. But what I'm realizing, it's like all of the years of suppressed emotions are kind of having the opportunity to be released in the moments where I'm actually speaking my feelings, and I'm telling myself that my feelings matter by speaking up for myself. So I'm constantly learning from them. They're a reflection because we're pretty much all the same. So as I'm coaching them, I'm coaching myself. It's very healing.
All right, so talk about the 3-part process of going from burnout to boldness.
Burnout to boldness, 3-part process. So I have a framework called the ACT framework, and in order for us to move from being unhealed to healed, we first have to become aware. And in that awareness phase, 95% of every single thing we do is unconscious. So a lot of us think we're in control of our beliefs, our thoughts, our reactions. We're not. We're only in control of 5% of everything. So in that 5% is the part of us that wants to achieve more, that wants to be with a certain type of partner, to have certain types of friends. But 95% of us is kind of all of the things that we have learned and picked up in our childhood between the age of 0 to 6. 80% of that is limiting belief. So we are operating from fear more than we're operating from love and expansion. So in order to move to boldness, we need to lean more into the expansion, but we can't do that until we see all of the illusions that are keeping us small and limited, which is those fear-based parts. So one of the things that I do is use emotions as a guide to help us see when we're operating from limiting beliefs. So if 80% of the time we're operating from limiting beliefs, it means 80% of the times we're triggered, but we're so numb to it because we're living life that we're not noticing all of the micro triggers that are happening through the moment. So I use emotions I always say emotions are a gift from God to let us know when we're in or out of alignment to our higher selves. And if we can desensitize ourselves to being able to pick up those micro triggers, then we get to see what beliefs we are projecting onto situations, people, circumstances that are happening on a moment-to-moment basis. So that's the awareness part. If we can realize, okay, I'm triggered, what am I making it mean about me in this moment? We're bringing forward that 95% that's happening subconsciously. Once you see that, then the next stage is learning how to coach yourself. And coaching yourself is about emotional regulation. So how can you go from being triggered to grounding yourself in like getting centered, disconnecting from the trigger, realizing the illusion that you're reacting to versus the reality that's actually happening. And once you can do that, you disarm your defense mechanisms. And then the next thing to do is to take aligned action, and that's what transforms you. So when you're triggered, your automatic reaction is to defend yourself. If you can come out of that and take an action that you would take if you were coming from love or you're coming from an expanded place, then you interrupt your automatic process and you create different evidence. So your brain might say, if you put yourself out there, so for me, one of my triggers is be invisible. If you put yourself out there on social media, people are going to judge you, and you're just going to die. No one's going to accept you. And then you take that action anyway, and you realize, oh, people really resonated with what I'm saying, and people are good. Then you create that counter evidence for your brain to say, oh, we didn't die. Oh, we weren't judged. And then your brain rewrites. And then that's when you start to tip the scale from being mainly negative to more positive. So you keep doing that over and over and over again. You end up kind of stepping into this bolder, more confident, more peaceful, more abundant version of yourself. So,
All right. What does it look like to design your dream life? Like once you've broken free of those generational pressure and perfectionism.
What does it look like? Well,
For you.
I think for me,
Uh-huh.
well, I live in Tulum, Mexico, which is paradise, and for the last 3 years I was working 7 hours a week and traveling. So, I mean, my life's not bad,
Yeah, I think I would take that.
right?
Tulum, I love Tulum.
Tulum's beautiful. It's my
Yes, it
little
is.
paradise. But yeah, I think, see, this wouldn't have been possible had I not started doing the work, right? So I think what happens is once you start realizing that you are creating everything in your life, good or bad, then you can start being intentional about, okay, what don't I like and what am I doing to create that, and what do I want and what do I have to do to step out of that? And then the world becomes your oyster, because you don't get trapped into those generational or familiar roles, and it's like, oh, because I'm a firstborn I have to. No, you are choosing to, and if you choose to, you can have peace in the choice that you're making, or if you choose not to, then you can step into another version of yourself. So my life continues to be a playground of what do I want to create next.
Right. Do you feel like, I mean, probably not now, but before, the most difficult word to say is no?
Used to be, for sure. There was a lot of guilt and shame and a sense of failure that came from saying no. Now, not so much. I can say no easily. It's still, there are certain people, especially family members, that I'm like, oh, it still doesn't feel good, but I want to say yes and like mean it fully, rather than say no and be resentful. But no, I want to say yes and mean it fully, rather than say yes and be resentful, which is what I used to do.
And do you think that's like the key to mastering the art of saying no?
In what way?
As far as saying no and being firm versus, saying yes and not, feeling resentful about it, or trying to avoid the individual moving forward because it's hard for you to say no?
Yeah, I think it ultimately impacts you, right? A lot of us as humans, we're pretty tribal, so we're always trying to be liked or be loved. It's our survival mechanism. So it's like, oh my gosh, if I say no, then there's going to be repercussions in terms of, are they going to love me the same? Are they going to like me the same? But fundamentally, you're creating a dynamic of dis-ease in relationship if I'm saying yes, but I'm resentful or I'm expecting something back and I'm going to be disappointed, in the long run, I'm creating a barrier in the relationship because there's going to be resentment there, there's going to be tension there, there's going to be. So the thing that I'm trying to avoid is, which is you not liking me, I end up creating because now there's this animosity between us that's built up over time. Whereas if I had just said no, and risk you not liking me, then we get to nip it in the bud, address it quickly. I let you know, like, this is why I can't do it. I want to help, and this is like, maybe I can't do it all, but this is what I'm able to do. Then we can start training ourselves to, because when I started saying no with my family, there was a lot of reaction. A lot of, like, what do you mean no? It's like, I can't, you know?
I literally heard that last night
Right?
with my wife and my father-in-law, literally. And
Your wife said
it's
no,
like it's a lot of it's a lot of tension, and
yeah,
like it's almost like my father-in-law is the kid in the situation
yeah.
a lot of times, and yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I'll say that.
It is, but but over time, what I realize is as long as I say, because the temptation is, oh my gosh, that triggered them. Let me go back to how it used to be. And then it creates this inconsistency. It's just like we are all kids in adult suits. So yeah, your father-in-law is the child in that dynamic. He's throwing a tantrum because he's not getting his way. And with children, if you're inconsistent with them, you say no, and then you give in, and then you say no, then they're like, oh, if I just push enough, I'm going to get the yes. You know, they'll kind of figure out that you're not really a serious person. Whereas if you keep saying no, 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 they're like, okay, no matter how much I tantrum, this isn't going to change. So what happened with my family is that they would tantrum, and I would deal with the guilt and the shame and the like feeling like I'm a bad person, and I would stick to it. And eventually they started realizing, oh, when she can, she really says yes and she follows through, and when she can't, she really can't. And they stop reacting to the no's. So I think being willing to be uncomfortable pays off in terms of healthier relationships in the long run, because you train people to respect your yeses and nos.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as you continue to blossom, healed hero, like what is the next step? Like, what's the vision board looking like when it comes to helping these fixers, fighters, and forgottens continue to recalibrate and find their peace?
Well, the vision for the next 3 to 5 years is to grow a global community of 100,000 women. I'm at the beginning stages of that, and I started with a beta group in May. And from the first call, there was tears, there were breakdowns, they were like, oh my gosh, which was like a nod to me from God or the universe that, like, you're on the right track, keep focusing on building this. So I don't know how that's going to look yet, but yeah, I'm excited to bring more women together, have them do the real work, which is not easy, of like letting go of this kind of title and role and freeing themselves so that they can truly, I just feel like as these women heal, everyone in their lives are going to benefit because they're just natural givers. So if they're given from a healed place, the world's going to be a better place. So I want to get to as many women as I can.
Mm-hmm. What do you see when you look in the mirror?
What do I see when I look in the mirror? Ongoing potential. I'm constantly evolving. I'm not perfect. Resilience. I think sometimes I share my story and people's mouths drop, and I'm just like, oh, everyone's got stuff to do. So I kind of underestimate, I think, sometimes the things that I've had to overcome to be where I am. So yeah, I'm just constant work in progress.
All right. So like, how do you define power today besides living in Tulum and, having beaches around you and working 7 hours a week whenever you feel the need to?
Power to me is being able to operate from love regardless of what's happening in my external circumstances. So not being disempowered by things not going my way or unexpected circumstances, being able to trust that everything is happening for me, being able to trust that I have everything I need no matter what the situation is what power is to me.
Okay. All right, Adaku, tell us where we can find you on social media, how any of the Firstborn daughters can reach out to you, and the services you provide. Just feel free to plug whatever you need to plug.
Okay, my website is www.healedhero.com. On there's a free training for anyone that wants to engage with that and learn about some of the limitations as firstborn daughters that are keeping them from prosperity and peace. I'm on Instagram. I need to do better at posting. Adaku _Mbagwu. I'm on LinkedIn. Adaku Mbagwu. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Adaku Mbagwu.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being such a hero to Firstborn daughters, for your transparency and just navigating life's journey, like what was put on your plate, and what you felt was your responsibility that you carried for so long, and then realizing that I don't have to carry all of these burdens, and being comfortable having those conversations to let go and find your true happiness. It's a powerful story.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so like I said, you go to healedhero.com to find out more. And for Stop, Look, and Listen, I'm your host, Troy Gardner. See you next week. Peace and blessings.